Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you don't let show.
Press play. There's the magic finger. Pressing down. Yeah.
Greetings, Grapple fans, and welcome once again to WFMU's Wrestling Club, the only club that's for wrestling fans. Sorry, we started off a little on the wrong foot, but we're gonna get it all back together. Don't worry about that. My name's Darren Maybe. I'm a WFMU DJ broadcasting live from downtown Jersey City, Chilltown at the mothership here at WFMU, and I'm joined via satellite from Hollywood, California, by the heartbreak kid to my Big Daddy Cool, my co-host, Brett Davis. Brett, can you hear me? Are you out there?
Well, I'm out here. We out here, as I like to say.
Oh, that's what you say now. Yeah,
casually.
it makes me miss you less, which is good.
And then we got the king of Hollywood.
Oh my God,
the leader of a small city. I think we agreed
Yeah.
on Twitter.
The lord of a small.
The only one of us that exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Please give it up for DC Pierson.
DC.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me.
Yes, welcome to YouTube. Now that's right. Last week we were on Twitch, but turns out we're the podcast that's too hot for Twitch. So now we're on YouTube tonight.
Kings of all streaming media.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
This is our sort of jump. We're jumping ship. We were on Raw, now we're on Nitro.
Soon to be on NWA from Hollywood. That's not good for us, but we're gonna try to work it out. You can give us a call, give us a shout out, give us some encouragement at 732-200-CLUB. Give us a call. The number's the same. Call the hotline. Next week, the podcast is going to finally drop. We're finally going to be where you get your podcast, so keep an eye out for that. And I got to remind you, this is we're in the midst of the October Hellraiser here at WFMU, our little mini fundraising marathon we have towards the end of the year to keep the lights on through Christmas, through Thanksgiving. Nothing's worse than when everything gets shut off around the holidays. So if you have a couple extra bucks, head on over to WFMU.org/pledge. Every bit counts. Every bit helps. So if you can help us out to keep making podcasts and keep talking about wrestling we both like and feel weird about, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, and we've got a chat here on the YouTube, so if you're watching live, you can ask us a question.
I love a YouTube chat, unfiltered, unrestricted.
Today we're going to be talking about wrestling brothers, so if you want to talk to us about your favorite wrestling brothers, please call in. Again, that's 732-200-CLUB. And DC, we like to start our guest interviews by asking you, what was your first memory, first interaction with the world of professional wrestling?
Oh, wow. I want to say that it was probably, I don't know if you guys remember, you would maybe know better than I would what the actual toys were called, but there were some wrestling toys that would advertise on Saturday morning cartoons probably in the like early 90s, where it was a like Hulk Hogan or a like Bret the Hitman Hart that you could like, it wasn't an action figure, it was bigger than that. It was basically a like almost child-sized doll, maybe like a half a child-sized doll that would play like sound effects, and I think the idea was that you were supposed to like wrestle with it. And anyway, there were commercials for that on Saturday morning cartoons, so that was, if not my first, definitely an early exposure to professional wrestling, was just like children wrestling with these like little dolls that would be like, oh yeah, or whatever. And that was a big impactful introduction to wrestling for me.
Those are the wrestling buddies from Tonka.
They're not a pillow. It's not a pillow. It's a
Yeah,
toy.
pillows
Pillow-esque,
don't yell
though.
at you. And a fun little trivia fact: if you're a fan of The Adventures of Pete and Pete, our friend Danny Tamborelli was actually in the Wrestling Buddies commercial.
Wow, you're right.
It's a bunch of kids playing, and then there's a dad that's like, "What is going on up there?" And it sounds like there's a construction crew. And then he opens up the door, and it's actually just a bunch of kids playing with their Wrestling Buddies. And then Dad joins in on the fun.
I feel like I'm always in a community full of wrestling fans. When I was a like high school theater kid, there was like a ton of the other like male predominantly like high school theater kids were also very into wrestling because it makes sense. It's very like theatrical, and it was also the late 90s and early 2000s, which I've come to understand was something of a like mainstream renaissance for professional wrestling.
Yeah,
And
if you watch
then
Pen 15,
being in
there's a ton of just WWF on the fringes of like everything that's happening in the show.
Which is so accurate. That's how it felt to be in the late 90s and early 2000s, where you were like, I'm not even a wrestling fan. And I know that like Triple H is a thing, Austin 316, Suck It, NWA, NWO.
Right.
NWA was earlier in the 90s. But you're just aware, like wrestling was just so in the mainstream that you did not have to be a fan to be vaguely aware of it. And then doing, I guess, like alternative or whatever you want to call it, comedy from the mid 2000s to present day, you're always around a bunch of people that are really into wrestling. I've never fully taken the plunge, but I did read an advanced copy of Bill Handstock's book, We Promised You a Great Main Event, I think is what it's called, which is a like unauthorized history of the WWE this year. And that was tremendous. That was so fascinating and cool. And just kind of like, I feel like I'll always be a little bit on the outside looking in on wrestling, but I always really, really enjoy hearing about it because it is such an all-enveloping world. And there's always a like, I don't know, it's just a perfect blend of fans that are totally like in on the thing that they like. They're totally over it. They totally see the matrix on it, but they also earnestly really, really like it. And I feel like there are so few cultural things that are like that. I feel like more fans could stand to be like wrestling fans in that way.
Well, we've got a lot of surprises for you. It's a great time to have you on because our news items are kind of like a Whitman sampler of the world of wrestling. So let's get into the news. Now is the best time to maybe tune into the WWE as a new viewer because they have began their WWE draft. However, it is also the worst time to tune into WWE television because it's the worst product they've ever had. Or at least in
it's
I'd
bad.
say worst.
It's bad. Yeah, no, it's really bad. It was the draft last weekend. That was the big event, Friday and Monday. The executives from Fox battled it out with the executives from the USA Network. How riveting does that sound? To basically not pick any, like, the rosters didn't really change too much. Brett, what are the highlights from the draft? Do you have any highlights? Because I don't really care about it.
No.
Yeah,
There are no highlights.
Literally, everybody's. What's that?
I just want to explain what this draft is to DC and anybody that's listening that's not really a wrestling fan. There are two main rosters of the WWE. There's Raw and SmackDown. They both operate in the same building.
The Thunderdome.
Because of coronavirus, they are in what looks like a giant Best Buy with fans just bored. It looks like this, but if we were to paste this image that you see right now on your screen everywhere in a building and then add lasers. The draft, we got Drew McIntyre, Asuka, broken up New Day, the tag team champions on Raw, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Randy Orton, Charlotte Flair.
Oh God, you're not gonna read all these names. There's
on SmackDown,
literally
Roman Reigns, Bayley, the Street Profits, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Sasha Banks. They did not interrupt any feuds. They did not create any intrigue.
No,
with these.
They broke up the New Day, which is like the act with the most goodwill in WWE in the last decade. Just like, they're done. They're gone. Break them up.
I was going to say New Day, it being a wrestling group combo,
Yes.
whatever you would
A
call it. I feel like a
faction.
dad trying to describe like, these rap groups, these rap trios. What do
You're
you got?
doing good. You're doing good.
But that I am actually aware of, despite not being a wrestling fan. That's how it speaks to their popularity, I feel like.
Well, we've got another non-wrestling fan in the chat. Famous Mortimer says he's British and in his 40s, so his first experience was World of Sport.
Wow!
on national
Yes!
TV every Saturday at lunchtime. We saw Young Davy Boy, Dynamite Kid, Jushin Liger. Very good times.
Big
World of
Daddy?
Sport wrestling is
Big
so
Daddy?
strange.
Oh.
They've got the tiniest ring. They've got rounds.
Yeah.
The wrestling is great. It's like some of the best wrestling you'll ever see.
Ever. Revolutionized the wrestling business, really.
But their Hulk Hogan is Big Daddy. Darren, describe Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Okay. So it's like Winston Churchill, but fatter and rounder. He's got like a round head, big round belly.
More depressed, right? Even more had depression than Winston Churchill.
He
famously?
beat depression. No mental illness in Big Daddy.
Very jolly.
Very jolly. Comes out, he's got the Union Jack on his disgusting leotard that he's wearing in the ring. He's just a big fat man who can't walk, can't really wrestle, but the people love him. He is an icon to the British people. I love Big Daddy. I'm a Big Daddy fan. Brett, what about you?
I love Big Daddy. In Germany, they had a similar character, Otto Wanz, who would wear lederhosen casually and was also bulbous.
Gone.
And you know what? Jared Cheek just messaged us from Flannel Graph Records, who has got some great Terry Funk stuff. He brought up that the Otto Wanz music video that we were actually playing moments ago.
Yeah, Brett and I watch that together every day.
Yeah.
Tender and slim, born to fight and to win. We've got giant power, a mountain size. Great head whose gentle eyes. Bunch of nice guys, a sight for sore eyes. If you don't sympathize, we sure can make you wise. We are young, strong and healthy, beautiful and wealthy. Don't try to put us down. Don't mess around. Don't try to put us down. Don't mess around.
I like a wrestler that couldn't exist in the modern day at the same level that they were at.
And just encapsulate think they're encapsulating their culture. You know, the ultimate British guy, guy living in Liverpool, working at the docks. That's Big Daddy.
Yeah. Speaking of international wrestling, the G1 Climax is happening. Darren,
Oh
you're
my
the
goodness.
New Japan expert. Tell us how this is going and what the G1 Climax even is.
The G1 Climax is an annual tournament in New Japan Pro Wrestling. A dozen shows over the course of a month. It's a round-robin tournament, and it's the biggest event, I'd say, for hardcore wrestling fans. It's always great wrestling, great matches. The best wrestling all year will take place in the G1, and this year is no different. In a year with coronavirus and no fans, the G1 has been a really refreshing tournament. It's been great. Last night was the A block final. Tonight is the B block final. The A block final was great. Brett, you didn't see any of it, did you?
I did not know.
There was a match between Kota Ibushi, who is the world's most beautiful man, and one of the scariest wrestlers ever, who looks like just an 18-year-old teen idol. He wrestled Taichi, who is like a visual Kai-esque Phantom of the Opera character. And they had a 20-minute match that
It should be noted he sings his way to the ring.
he lip syncs his way to the ring, but it's very dramatic.
with his like dramatic. Does he still have the dramatic manager too?
Yes, he does. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if she was there last night. I forget, but I know he does have her in general.
DC, I saw you light up at the idea of
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But they had a match where the only move was kicking. They kicked each other for 20 minutes, but it was like it was just like a great match. It had the twists and the turns and everything, but it was only kicking. They kicked each other for 20 minutes.
Was that predetermined? Was it sort of like,
well,
okay,
I don't want
like
to, we like to keep kayfabe on Wrestling Club, but
no, I just mean like, did they openly agree to this will be a kicking only
absolutely,
match?
yeah,
Before oh, okay, gotcha.
Kota Ibushi is like a real creative wrestler. He's always doing things that are very different. He had a match a week ago with Minoru Suzuki, the 52-year-old phenom of the G1 Climax tournament. Brett, can you describe Minoru Suzuki? It's really hard for me.
Minoru Suzuki is an actual martial artist.
An original MMA fighter from the early 90s, one of the original MMA guys.
And he remained in the world of pro wrestling, started shaving like swirls into his head. Has just like a gross like smoker's mouth.
Yeah. Looks like, it just has like a lizard face kind of, like has a really good wrestling face.
His thing is he's just surly. Right now in post, I'll add a picture of Darren laughing behind him.
The highlight of 2019, maybe the highlight of my life. I was front row at a wrestling event called Bloodsport in Jersey City, and Minoru Suzuki. It was WrestleMania weekend last year. Minoru Suzuki was the main event, and I was in the front row, and Minoru Suzuki comes through the curtain, and he's just walking towards me with just these cold, dead predator eyes, and it was so scary. It was bone chilling. But
DC, just let us know when something piques your. Is more Minoru Suzuki sound like something you might want to see?
I mean, absolutely, yeah, for sure. It just the idea of, I mean, if that was the highlight of your 2019. I feel like the highlight of my 2019 was like, look, in retrospect, was just, I don't know, going to places. So if this was the highlight of your 2019, I mean, that is a really high bar, because I feel like all of our highlights of 2019 have changed in retrospect. So if this is still rating that way for you, it's got to be really good, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Honestly, like, it was so good that my 2020 hasn't even been that bad. Like,
well, that was part of the collective. That was in Jersey City.
Part of the collective at WrestleMania weekend 2019, which of course WrestleMania weekend 2020 was canceled because of coronavirus. But
it was not canceled. They put it in a gymnasium.
Okay, that's right. I forgot
with no fans.
And a boneyard.
And boneyard.
And the back and like a hallway. Yeah, WrestleMania was real bad this year, DC. They
did a little play. John Cena and an evil clown.
Yeah,
did,
a surrealist play, a Dada-esque play. Yeah,
but we're not even making fun of it.
No.
It's what it was.
Yep.
But in fairness, like what little I know about wrestling and just like promos and things where they're not actually in the ring, I feel like hallways play a bigger part than you would necessarily think. I feel like there's a lot of hallways in professional wrestling. Am I wrong about that? I feel like you're
correct.
I think wrestling's more like arena corridors. This was literally hallways and like a business complex. The Collective, which is a bunch of indie shows all weekend, that's like a destination for independent wrestling fans, postponed until this past weekend.
Again, Joey Janela's Spring Break is sort of the most bizarre wrestling show you'll see. Effie's Big Gay Brunch highlighted gay wrestlers. There was For the Culture that highlighted black wrestlers. Shimmer, which had Best of Women's Wrestling. There was one show that was just dad themed. It was really your ultimate.
Wait, did you say Dan themed?
Dan the Dad.
Oh, yeah. See, there's so many wrestlers named Dan and so many dad themed wrestlers. Like, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes some of the Collective stuff, it's a little much for me. Give me the two Japanese guys kicking for 25 minutes. I like that. But it was a fun show. It sounds fun.
But like Kuru Metariko in the chat says, it was a super spreader event.
Well, that's literally it did,
because they had a show indoors with fans.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
But it doesn't. Super spreader event does sound like a type of match. Am I like? It does sound
Yeah.
vaguely like
I
I will
feel-
see you in this.
on pay-per-view.
I feel like we had Brett. We had Effie on a couple weeks back. Did he make a joke about the Big Gay Brunch being a super spreader event?
No, I mean,
I thought he did.
and
I feel like I
they
dreamed
did
that up.
social distance. They did try, but I mean, it's
They
just-
failed. They
They
failed.
failed.
A bunch
They
of
failed.
wrestlers were supposed to wrestle in Ring of Honor Wrestling this upcoming week. And Ring of Honor has been very diligent about coronavirus, which is funny because they're owned by the evil overlords at Sinclair Broadcasting. But they've been very careful. And yeah, Dan the Dad and Cabana Van Dam, or I don't even know any of these wrestlers, Brett. They're so
Well,
lost to me.
I like this show. I watch from the comfort and safety of my own home.
Yeah.
Found some new favorite wrestlers.
Yeah, who was the best and worst of the collective, Brett? Who were the best? Who really impressed
we
you?
had two great sort of up and comer versus legend matches. We saw Too Cold Scorpio, a guy in his
Wow,
mid 50s.
I did
do a
see-
450 splash.
Unbelievable.
Where he does like two flips in the air. We saw Cassandro, the famous lucha libre Exotico, take on the next generation of Exotico with a Sunny Kiss. There was Pero, who is just this big bear dude.
Who's
who
just-
wrestles in All Japan Pro Wrestling.
I don't know
but,
Pero at all.
he came out of the closet and he wrestled in the Twink Gauntlet as part of Big Gay Brunch.
Yeah.
Beating up guys like Calvin Couture and Tyler Klein. There was Trish Adora. She put on a great match. She is the Pan-African World Diaspora Champion. She
Wow.
won with her Lariat Tubman at For the
Wow.
Culture.
Wow.
And we had a great match. Priscilla Kelly wasn't able to appear, so Effie fought Marco Stunt in a Too Hot for TV match, and it was a battle of the best entrance themes. Effie came out to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and Marco came out to We Belong by Pat Benatar. This is wrestling for me. You could have your very scientific G1 climax. Give me a bunch of people in a gym getting sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throw some old guys in there. In the chat, we're getting a reminder that Chris Dickinson versus John Moxley, the Dirty Daddy.
Blood.
After Bloodsport.
Right.
I recommend it. I wouldn't recommend going to any live shows.
No. It looked good. I mean, I saw some of it. I saw Too Cold Scorpio, which blew my mind. Between him and Minoru Suzuki, like and Chris Jericho, this is a great year for old wrestlers. They're really having a good year. I love that I think Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is such an amazing wrestling entrance.
DC, what would be your entrance?
Yeah.
theme?
It's just the first thing on my mind because my wife and I played it on Spotify earlier. It came up, but Crazy by Seal. I feel like it's got a good message. You know, we're never going to survive unless we get a little crazy.
Yeah.
It's
I
good
like
for
that.
2020.
I like that.
It holds up. It's got peaks and valleys to it. There's like literally a crazy drum break that happens in the middle, very like early 90s. Like you can tell they were like CD is a new medium. People will really feel how crisp these digital drums are. They're
Yeah.
you can
Yeah, that's right. Frequencies you
like
never
death by
imagined.
1,000 nunchucks. That's how
Uh-huh.
sharp these, or not nunchucks, rather ninja stars.
This is
That's
gonna-
how sharp these drums are.
DC, you're going to have a very elaborate entrance, it sounds like.
It's gonna go on. I'm gonna enter and exit continually. It's gonna be like, okay,
Yeah.
he's going to the ring. Wait, he turned left. He's now like near like a concession stand, and then
That's
you
good.
lose me a little bit. Then I'll re-enter. Yeah,
It's kind of a
it's
parade.
a 4.5 minute song.
It's like a parade at this point.
Exactly.
That's good. I like that.
Thank you.
Also in the news this week, Pro Wrestling Illustrated released their Women's 100. Bailey got the top spot, no surprise there, with Becky Lynch, Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and Sasha Banks rounding out the top five women's wrestlers in WWE. Brett, every year, I love when Pro Wrestling Illustrated lists wrestlers. It's one of my
Me too.
favorites.
It's how you know how many wrestlers there are. There are 100 women's wrestlers.
We finally have 100. It's been a great year for women's wrestling.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We do have one more big piece of news, Brett, we got to get to.
Yes.
From People
Brace
Magazine.
yourself,
From
DC.
People Magazine. This Monday in Tampa, WWE superstar John Cena married his girlfriend, Sherizada. The newlyweds met while on the set of Cena's film Playing with Fire, which was filmed in Shay's home country of Canada. Wow. So that's it. John Cena finally, after being a bachelor for the better part of the last decade, and his tumultuous relationship.
He was in a beautiful relationship with Nikki Bella. Do you ever watch the show Total Divas?
I don't, but as a fan of extremely reality TV that somehow feels more fake than scripted TV, it has constantly been on number 2 or number 3 of my shows to watch list. It has never quite gotten there. But
if you don't know about Total Divas and their spinoff Total Bellas, we follow the women's wrestlers of the WWE, specifically the Bella Twins, on their journeys outside of the ring. And the big story was Nikki and John. And Nikki just wanted to marry John, but John had been divorced. He wasn't sure if he could make that commitment to her.
Well, he wanted to get married, but Nikki wanted to have children. And John Cena, as we all know, his children are the 600 Make-A-Wish kids that he visits every year. Those are his kids.
Nation.
The C Nation.
But she just wanted to get married. She wanted to have a family with John Cena, and who doesn't? Even when she broke her neck, John whispered in her ear, "I'm going to marry you."
Yeah.
She was all
They
high,
got engaged. They were ready to do it.
They didn't. You're skipping over a huge part. They got engaged in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania.
I know they did.
Every little girl's dream.
And
I know.
Tell me about it. And I'll tell you this: I thought we were going to have the match made in heaven at SummerSlam that year. John Cena, Nikki Bella, tie the knot. And we have finally a happy ending in wrestling, but no. They don't. Didn't work out.
Match made in hell.
It was
how dare John make a commitment to some Canadian hussy when he's got a beautiful woman like Nikki Bella who's begging and pleading. And she did get married to her dancing partner on Dancing with the Stars, but I think that's just her trying to heal a wound that miserable son of a bitch opened in her heart.
Brett, let's just dial it down a little bit. They're both happy, they're both married, they're both moving on with their lives. And from Wrestling Club to John Cena, we congratulate you on your nuptials.
Yeah. All right, now it's time for a segment that we like to call the Big Show and Tell.
Well, it's the Big Show and Tell.
That's right. This is a segment of the show where we do a little show and tell. And DC, you're not the hugest wrestling fan, but I think you probably know about these guys. They were all over TikTok earlier this month. Darren, hit them with the Voros twins.
When did the Cold War end? Summertime. Huh? What's the name of the famous big clock in London? Big Ted. On which continent is the South Pole? South America. Where's that? How many years are there in a millennium? A million. It's a million. What do tadpoles turn into? Butterflies. Oh, you got it. Frogs? How many hours are there in 2 days? I don't even know how much is in one. 32. Two. How are we supposed to know? Oh. Who painted the Mona Lisa? Mona Lisa. Oh, yeah. Da Vinci?
Have you guys seen the Voros twins, the Da Vinci twins?
This was my first exposure to the Voros twins. I had to look them up, or the Voros twins, rather. I had to quickly Google image search them. I'm only able to absorb one TikTok phenomenon a month, and so this month has been pretty taken up for me by the guy skateboarding and listening to Fleetwood Mac while drinking cranberry juice.
Hits me right in the heart.
But these guys are great, and they really work in the vertical TikTok format. I feel like they're really built for the medium.
they are like a jacked Jedward.
Yeah. I thought they were Jedward.
I thought they were Jedward.
I thought it was like, they're working out. That's good. Getting them lean meats. That's good.
And I was just a little curious. I decided to look into them, and it turns out the Voros twins are professional wrestlers.
Unbelievable. For Ring of Honor.
They've wrestled in Ring of Honor, which is a televised promotion. And all this Vinki mania that is taken over Twitter and TikTok, nobody told me that I could catch these guys in the ring. So it must have been what kids found out when they'd see those El Santo movies in Mexico, and then it'd be like, oh, you don't know, El Santo's more than just a superhero. He's a wrestler, and you could see him live at Arena Mexico. So the second it's safe to enter a building, I'm going to go see the Da Vinci twins.
I'll risk it. I'll risk it for Da Vinci.
Yeah. And you know what? I think I'm going to make an announcement right here, right now. Next week on Wrestling Club in DC, I love you. You're so great. You've had such a wonderful career. But I am a million times more excited about next week's guests. The Da Vinci twins will be on Wrestling Club.
Unbelievable.
Live, joining us, and comedian Chris Kubas. You've got that to look forward to. The Da Vinci twins. If we already broke Twitch, then we're breaking YouTube and the internet right now.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe it. I'm so
nervous. This is but it is very wrestling of you to, this week is merely setting up next week. You know what I mean? Like that. I appreciate that.
I'm not going to, I'm so nervous.
This is the build. Next week is the main event. Yeah.
I love Chris too.
Surprise.
Chris is great.
We've got another surprise later in this episode, so stay tuned. But because of in honor of the Da Vinci twins, we wanted to celebrate.
They have to. Also, I just have to say that it is their particular misfortune, or I guess it's like misfortune wrapped in good fortune, that they're going viral for saying Da Vinci, but their name was already Voros, and they just have to resign themselves to being known as the Da Vinci twins.
I think they're good. I mean, I read about them a little bit, and they're keeping kayfabe. Like they don't want anyone to know that they're not brain dead. Like they want to be Da Vinci 100%. I'm worried that they're going to get a little too into the gimmick, like Ric Flair, where they're just like, where it gets a little uncomfortable for everybody.
They're huffing to kind of kill some brain cells before an interview.
Yeah, I know. I'm really nervous.
We're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to find out if this is an act or not. Yeah. Hell, we might even ask them some trivia questions.
We might huff next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm down. It's that's what's very WFMU about this show. But Wrestling Brothers, Brett, I am so excited for this. I don't have a brother. I never will. But I've always wanted one.
Yeah, I do have a brother, but he's busy.
Yeah. Sorry about
However, wrestling has fulfilled this hole in our hearts.
Yes.
There's so many great examples of Wrestling Brothers. DC, do you know any?
So depressing about Darren saying, "I'll never have one." It's just like true. It's like, okay, yeah, you're not gonna have a brother.
I'm past that time of my life.
I know. It was just a real true statement. But there was something.
Wait, you have a sister?
A man in a radio station in the middle of Jersey City in the middle of the night on a Friday night saying, "I'll never have a brother." That was true. It was funny and true and all of those things. That's all.
Yeah, it's real. It's real. We got a call.
Fantastic.
You called WFMU Wrestling Club. Who am I speaking to?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, it's me. Okay, we're talking to me. This is WFMU DJ Joe Duffy of the Peaceful Solutions radio broadcast.
Well, full name. We're gonna go for the full. All right, that's fine.
That's what we know you as. You
Well,
literally
said it's me.
you literally say your full name on your radio show every week.
No, first of all, I do not.
Yes,
That's
you do.
not true.
You have that. No, you have that Dr. Katz bumper or whatever. That's like Joe Duffy.
Oh yeah, that. Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay,
literally
you're right,
says
you're
your
right,
name
you're right,
every
you're right.
week. Okay, good.
I'll
Joe,
walk that back.
you walk it back. We're talking wrestling. What do you got? What do you got for us?
Oh, I thought I was getting screened. You guys, okay?
You're not getting screened. You think we got call
we're raw
screeners
dogging
here?
it. You're raw
Who's
dogging
gonna
the
be?
radio.
Who do you think's gonna be call screening here, pal? All right. Oh,
Hey,
wow.
AP Mike works on Fridays.
Yeah, he's at Masses, dude. There are
We've
actually.
exhausted
Hey,
our
Brett, how you
favors
doing?
we've asked
Good
of
to
him.
see you, Brett. DC, big fan of yours. I read your book. It's very good.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thank you very
Huge,
much.
huge Derek comedy fan, going back since way back when. The first time I ever went to the Creek in the Cave was to see Derek comedy live
Wow.
in 2000
Thanks,
and
man.
God knows.
Holy
Yeah.
macaroni. Yeah, probably like 2008 through 2009.
Yeah.
If you're not somebody in the world
It
of
seemed like a
window,
lot
it was a long
longer.
time
Then I
ago.
realized it was a year.
If you're not somebody in
Yeah,
the world
yeah,
of New
they're-
York comedy, the Creek is a taco place and a 2-story comedy club where there's shit that literally comes out of the pipes and creates a beautiful ambiance throughout the club.
Yes.
But
It's
that's
the-
just part of any New York, any really influential New York comedy space is going to have a certain amount of shit dripping onto your head.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Let's face it. New York comedy not known for their plumbing. It's true.
And I learned the first
Yeah.
Childish Gambino concert was at the Creek.
That sounds entirely believable.
He was MC DJ, I think, at that point or something.
Well, Joe, what's your pro wrestling question comment for the show?
Oh, well, I'm a real basic, but being in close proximity to Darren for a long time, I absorbed a lot of stuff.
We were
through
roommates.
osmosis.
Just full disclosure, we were roommates.
We did live together, yes. We were domestic partners.
Guys, thank you. I know
Um,
it's campaign season. Thank you for abiding by the strict Federal Elections Commission rules, disclosing that
Absolutely.
you guys were roommates at one point. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. I
We do
appreciate
have
it.
to let the people. Yeah, it's
All
it would be a
above board.
conflict of interest otherwise. But I've been watching. But so here's the thing: ever since, because I don't have cable, but ever since SmackDown came to Channel 5 now, it's back on Fox
Right.
on broadcast, which I have. I have bunny ears. It's not bunny ears anymore. It's like a weird piece of cardboard or whatever. But I have a antenna for my TV, so I've been watching SmackDown on Fridays as I've been getting ready to do
Wow.
my own FMU show.
Right at
and
3 a.m. tonight.
so-
Tune in.
Yeah, how does this work? So I've been watching it for a couple weeks now, and they still haven't told me how do I get one of these. I think out of everywhere on TV, because I watch a lot of TV, all the daytime shows, all these places. The
A
Drew
lot of
Barrymore
network
show is
TV. A
real
lot of
great
network TV.
New one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's okay. It's okay.
But
Keep
they
going.
SmackDown is doing the remote audience better than anyone.
Wow, you think so?
I think.
Better than baseball.
I really do.
Better than baseball. Better than who else has a
Oh,
remote?
yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I
okay,
mean, better
maybe
than
for
all the
maybe
daytime
for the
shows.
viewer,
Baseball
but
would be
if you're
crazy to
in
have the
that
screens
Wait, hold
going on.
if you're in that audience, you've got a producer that's yelling at you, all right, here comes Sasha Banks. Everybody applaud.
That's
yeah,
the-
woo!
Well,
Thumbs up
that's
for
my
Sasha.
question. How does this work? I figured you guys would know.
Right. So
How do I get one of these screens? Do I gotta call somebody?
So at first, it was like first come, first serve. You're a WWE fan. You can join our WWE fan experience at the Thunderdome. And then you could go, they give you a link, you go in. But what happened was like the first night, like immediately front row, someone just puts up a Chris Benoit image. So like, they're like, all right, so now we're going to have to screen people. And now there's a producer that's talking to you that's saying like, okay, here comes WWE champion Roman Reigns. Let's boo him. And then you'll see the crowd just going boo, like just mugging for the camera. But they're being directed. Like WWE finally, Vince McMahon finally has 100% control over the reactions of his fans, which is what they've always wanted. That's that Thunderdome. Those fans. I think
You explaining the Saudi blood money thing was, I think, what got wrestling back on my radar to me.
Yeah,
Where I
you're
was
really
like, oh, these guys are involved in terrorism now. I'm very into it.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Like they're indirectly funding jihad. This is great.
Yeah, they're into it. I mean, it's more like jihad is funding them
Yeah,
at this
right,
point.
right.
But yeah,
It's like a Hobby
weird.
Lobby thing. It's like yeah.
It's weird. You definitely. I'd say go back and if you ever get a chance, go watch Greatest Royal Rumble. I'll give you the login. Don't worry. We'll get that off the air.
Okay,
I can't
cool.
give
I
give
appreciate
that
that.
out on the air.
But speaking of the greatest,
appreciate
But
Royal
thank you,
Rumble,
Joe, and make sure if
course.
you're awake at 3:00 in the morning, Joe does a great show here on WFMU. Especially if you like rap, Joe plays a lot of it. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for the call, Joe. I'm gonna.
If you like white people playing hip hop,
Well,
WFMU is the place.
you
for
know
you
what?
guys.
You know what? It's a great hip hop show. I'm not gonna lie. I listen every week. Thanks, Joe.
you know,
Later.
we've been doing this thing on the
Oh, boy.
air called the Worst Royal Rumble. You're familiar with the Royal Rumble match, DC, right? So what we wanted to do is the WWE did a Greatest Royal Rumble show. They did a second Royal Rumble of the year in Saudi Arabia. The Prince, he was like, yeah, I want Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Yokozuna.
An Ultimate Warrior.
Somebody has to tell him that Andre the Giant is no longer.
Yeah.
Nobody
with us.
would.
Somebody has to break that news.
They can't.
Nobody would.
No, it's
so they
not
were
good.
like, we'll get a random sumo wrestler.
Oh,
We'll just do the closest thing to what he's asking.
oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
because nobody wants to deliver that news.
Well, that's the thing. They went over there. I think it might have been for Greatest Royal Rumble, but they went over there and like things went bad in the negotiations, and literally the entire WWE roster was held hostage for 3 days. They couldn't.
When was
They
this?
couldn't leave the country. It was like a year ago.
This is the greatest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah,
This
they were
so
literally
wonderful.
on. They were on the airplane to leave an hour after the show. Like they just wanted to get out of there. And they were like, nope, not allowed to take off. Security, the Saudi royal forces are coming. Nope, everybody's got to get off the plane. And then they had to sit in their
How is
hotel
this
rooms
not?
for
I
3
know
days.
that it was Iran, not Saudi Arabia, but how is this not Argo 2? You know what I mean?
It
This is
should be
the
someday.
Affleck needs to option this. This is the the Argo expanded universe he's been looking for.
You got all these wrestlers that day tweeting like, pray for us.
Yeah.
That is how did I feel honestly like as mad at myself as I did yesterday when I learned that there was a Alanis Morissette Jagged Little Pill jukebox musical that premiered on Broadway and got nominated for all these Tonys.
15.
It was
I know
like
somebody
on
that works on
Broadway
that.
in
Yeah.
like the 3 months of 2020 where you could be on Broadway, and I never heard of it even when culture existed. And I was so like, what am I doing? I'm off my rhythms of things that I would totally read a like Daily Beast long read about.
Well, they kept these people hostage, but then they treated them well.
Everybody got out. Everybody got out.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But they did have to change SmackDown the next day.
Yeah, they lost all the wrestlers.
Plus
Well,
in the students.
The students, and then there are a couple wrestlers who are just like, we're not going. Well, there's a couple wrestlers. There's one that has like Syrian descent. He's not allowed in Saudi Arabia. There's like a Jewish wrestler that's not allowed in Saudi Arabia. So like they had like a couple of the dissenters on the roster. And then
It was a great show.
The students. It was an excellent show.
Well, anyway, they did the Greatest Royal Rumble. So what we want to do is we want to do the Worst Royal Rumble.
It's a reoccurring
if you've been
segment.
Listening to the show, so far we had Effie, previous guest. He came in at first. He rode Bastion Booger's belly to the ring. Up number 2, we had a celebrity entrant as Alessandra Mussolini, the granddaughter of Benito Mussolini, came in, but quickly tossed over the top rope. And number 3, Darren's pick was glamour girl Judy Martin, a 64-year-old woman.
Heavy smoker.
Heavy smoker. And you promised at some point during the match she will do a Kofi spot. So, DC, who you get entrant number 4 for this? So it could be anyone, ideally living.
Ideally living. Do they have to have ever been involved in wrestling before?
Alessandro Mussolini was never involved in wrestling.
As far as we know. As far as we know.
Exactly. But again,
I don't follow the Italian scene too well, but
you know who is going to be in the Royal Rumble is creator of long form, like pioneer of long form improv and creator of the long form improv form, the Harold Del Close,
Wow.
is joining
Wow.
the Royal Rumble. I think
Wow.
famously somewhat involved in the sort of like countercultural beat lifestyle, like adjacent to the beats, sort of
Cool.
like, I think I don't think I'm besmirching his memory to say sometime drug user, like
Okay,
somebody that and pioneer, inventor of long form improv form, the Harold Del Close is in the ring. I think he was in the Untouchables.
Okay. Yeah. He trained all the greats.
The UCB4, Matt Besser,
Or
Ian
did
Roberts,
he train
Amy
like
Poehler.
Belushi and
All
those
of them.
people?
Oh yeah. There is a long lineage of people that where you feel like you're like, I bet you he was really interesting and it was great to be around him, and he sounds exhausting.
Yeah, so he comes into the ring. You get to book for until the next entrant. We've got a 64-year-old woman and a very fit gay man who's very oiled up. How does this wild card fare in his entrance?
I think that he like sits in a chair and like thinks for a while about like, what are we doing? I think he probably, again, like you said, like he probably goes and gets you over like a moldy, like some sort of a like first draft of a like Elia Kazan screenplay that like Elia Kazan gave him, that it's like waterlogged, and he's like, there was a thing in here. He didn't ultimately put it in the movie, but it was really good, and you're sort of like bored and you're just a little bit like, I gotta take this guy to like pick up his like social security check. And you just think like, oh, this guy was probably famous and was friends with so many people that are now famous, like Mike Nichols and Elaine May and people. Why aren't they taking care of him? Why is this on me? I should probably be nicer to the people around me that are coming up. This is all the wrestler that's wrestling with him thinking these things. And he's
created sort of
he exhausts you. I think he takes everyone to a diner. Like he has like a diner that he's really fixated on. You guys go to the diner.
Okay, so
we should say
the audience is digital. They're in the Jeddah Thunderdome.
They're in Saudi Arabia, and it's just surrounded by Saudi royals sitting in front of the
But this is an interesting
TVs.
development now.
I just remembered that one of the main things you said was ideally alive, and he couldn't be less alive.
That's fine. Bastard Booger's also dead, but
Yeah.
So he has taken the entrance of the ring. Let's say they roll out from under the ring, so they're still active, but they've gone to a diner. So now we've got an empty ring and an empty room.
Chicago diner in the early 90s.
Oh, great!
I mean, I have to take it. Yeah, they might be eliminated by proxy because
no, they didn't go over the.
Telling you about
Wait a minute.
telling you about Commedia dell'arte. Like I think it could all factor in ultimately.
They
into
get
your
on the
wrestling
plane
experience.
to leave Jeddah, but they get held. They say you can't leave.
All right, so now so in the worst Royal Rumble, Effie and Benito Mussolini's granddaughter, and
she's been eliminated.
Oh, that's right, she's been eliminated. So Judy Martin, they're on an airplane waiting to go to a diner. the greatest Royal Rumble.
Del Close. Improv
Del Close.
legend Del Close.
Improv, yes, long form improv
So
pioneer.
the greatest Royal Rumble has come to a halt. The worst Royal Rumble, I'm sorry, has come
So
to
the
a halt.
next entrant kind of gets their own
thing. Their own thing. I like it.
It's a palate cleanser.
But
Speaking of
but
comedy,
they haven't been eliminated. We want to make that clear. They have not been eliminated. But yeah, Wrestling Brothers. We got to get back to these Wrestling Brothers, Brett. We have so many we wanted to talk about, but we're running out of time here.
We're running out of time, so let's get to the best one. We've talked about him on the show. DC, you're familiar with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Absolutely.
Well, what if I told you he has a brother who also has a weird voice, but a different kind of weird?
Oh, do tell.
He is a poet. He reads poems before his matches and throws them out on frisbees to the audience. And on occasion, he likes to dress in a full suit of armor
Oh, yes.
You're gonna love Sir Lanny Poffo. Darren, can we play a clip?
Gather round me, wrestling fans, and listen to my story. Through my love for great days past, I fight for fame and glory. Big fish have eaten little fish since history began, and underneath this armor is a very hungry man.
I think we've played this clip on the show. This is the third time now. We love Sir Lanny Poffo so much. Does this spark your interest? Could this maybe convert you into a full-time wrestling fan, knowing that there's hours of Sir Lanny Poffo content?
I mean, you know, the word, again, the word poetry gets thrown around a lot. You know, you have guys that were kind of going like, I'm macho, but I'm a poet, you know, Bukowski and whatever. But really, this is like taking it to a whole different level. I mean, no
Lanny
can't
be macho. He can't be macho. His brother's macho, so he decides to be valiant. The valiant bard. Sir Lanny Poffo. I love this man so much. Again, we talked about him on our episode with Micah Brucey at length. If you want to hear more of that, just listen to it. There's so many great weird Lanny clips that we want to get to, but I actually have a surprise. I have a surprise for you, Darren.
What?
I sent you an MP3. Why don't you play it?
The Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett. We've got a show that you'll never forget. Hello, my name is Lanny Poffo, formerly the Genius, WWE. But it looks like Brett Davis remembers my night gimmick. Oh, I never thought I would live that down. Look back through the annals of history and the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Men from all nations with courage to spare who struggled to carve out a name. Now compare these high standards of valor to those chivalrous knights of yore, with bravery staunch as their armor, their glory both legend and lore. My medieval connection with wrestling relives that magnificent past.
I didn't ask him to.
Though mindless skeptics may snicker and scoff, the winner is he who laughs last. Alive with the love of wrestling, I appear on TNT between Vince and Awful Alfred, the hottest show on TV. I'm not your average wrestler, but I wouldn't want to be. I never scream or kiss my arms. I'm happy just being me. Aww. I call myself Leaping Lanny. I validate what I say to every single wrestling fan who's watching USA. Yes, I believe in miracles, as God has blessed this great land. I believe the referee will soon be raising my hand. Brett Davis, I hope you enjoyed it. And Darren, thank you for being a fan of mine too. You're welcome. And my night gimmick, well, that wasn't real armor, that was theatrical armor. What? Cost me $1,400. And then I did all these bunkhouse battle royals. And some of the other wrestlers were a little rough on the armor. So I wound up throwing it all away. Oh. And anyway, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed it. I sure did.
Oh, Lanny.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, leap into my heart.
Thank you so much, Lanny. I don't know how I got it.
Lanny. Yeah, Brett. Wow.
I don't know how I pulled it off, but I somehow pulled it off.
And he sprung for his own armor.
And he just remembered that poem. He wrote that 35 years ago. And it's
him springing for the armor is interesting because it makes you think that no one asked him for it.
He just clearly had such a comprehensive vision of what his gimmick is, how it is different than Macho Man. It's valor. It's the whole thing. Like it's so beautiful. Great. Like it's so beautiful. He has such an all-encompassing, like, this is what I do. I'm a little bit different and this is me.
But it's smart.
It's so great.
I mean, DC, you've produced so many videos and stuff. You ever have somebody just show up like in a costume or like with like makeup on? You're like, they're like, oh, hey. And they're like, yeah, I had an idea for something. If it's cool with you, I know it's your thing, but
they show up with a puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if
Not
I
to
had a
this degree,
puppet?
but if they did show up with this level of commitment in
Yeah.
$1,400 armor that they bought outright,
with money.
that they knew was going to have to end up in a wrestling ring, and they wrote a whole poem. I mean, yeah, you have to you have to let them do whatever they want to do. This is a beautiful thing.
There's nothing. It's just what a man. What a wow,
What
Brett.
a valiant bard. I'm flabbergasted.
The spokesman of a generation.
And now we have forever we have Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett. It'll be a show that you'll never forget, which is our own Lanny Poffo poem.
Wow, I tell you, I'm just a regular kid from the wrong side of the streets, and this really just, made it all worth it. It made it all worth it, Brett. Honestly, this should be our last show. We should retire it now. We're never gonna beat this.
And honestly, the creative malfeasance of Game of Thrones producers for not even, I don't even think, looking at this guy to play the Mountain or whatever his name is. I
don't know if
come
Lanny.
on, he's got his own armor.
Lanny's not much of a. I don't know if
it's pre-stressed.
I don't know if Lanny's much of a Mountain. He's more of a sneaky type.
Yeah. Do we have another Lanny clip that we could play?
Oh, I? Let's see. Oh, yeah, I got one here called Poffo-Mania.
Even from victory. What we are talking about is decadent filth. Rock and roll, in its essence, is taking young men and women and making them slaves to sins of the flesh and sins of pleasure. I stand for courage, purity, honesty, humility, diligence, charity, and fidelity.
Well, that gave you an idea about Poffo-Mania. Well, let me tell you, Rick and Robert...
Don't tell us nothing! Don't tell us nothing! Let me tell you something! 6033 in the corner in Poffo-Mania, yeah. The sexiest team that nobody can do anything about. Don't talk to him no more!
All right, that's good. We don't want to talk to you anymore anyhow.
Don't throw me off!
All right. We'll take time out, and we'll get back around here before we get in the middle of Poffo-Mania.
I mean, that's really... It's just... Lanny and Randy didn't really do much on television together outside of their initial pre-WWF career when they invaded Memphis wrestling as the invading wrestling brothers, the Poffo brothers. And it's so funny because Lanny's always like kind of whenever Lanny was a heel, he literally like Space Ghost grew a goatee. Like he literally, if he was going to be a bad guy, he had to look the part. And he does. And then, you have Lanny being obviously so well spoken. And then Macho Man just bashing himself in the head with a chair. It's like, really, I wish they were together more. I do. I think they're a great pair. Of all the wrestling brothers, of all the wrestling families, the Poffos, especially now that, Lanny's basically, a third member of the broadcast team here at Wrestling Club. I love the Poffos. I love them.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Lanny. You're our official best wrestling brother.
Yeah. You won.
We actually we have a big special coming up in a few weeks. It's our Brawl Oween special.
Not a few weeks. It's 8 days away.
8 days away.
Brawl Oween.
Back on the air on WFMU, so you can call in live. You can call into this too, but you'll be on the radio. People driving trucks can hear you.
Yep.
And we'll be both celebrating Halloween and giving awards to the scariest wrestlers with our Brawl Oween awards. We're talking Best Vampire, Best Wrestling Mummy, Best Wrestling Frankenstein, an award for somebody that's spooky but not scary, but like just kind of weird. So you got that to look forward to. Darren, when is that going to happen?
When is that? That's going to be next Saturday night, late Saturday night. My show is at 3 a.m. That's right. I am the king of overnight radio. So we're going to be 3 a.m. Saturday into Sunday, the dead of night in the middle of the weekend. That'll be October 24th into October 25th. Check your local listings. Head on over to WFMU.org. You can see the schedule there, and it's going to be...
And we're going to have some guests.
We're going to have some guests.
We have at least one confirmed appearance for the show, and it's spooky.
It's spooky. We're going to have lots of music. As you know, I'm also a WFMU DJ, so we're going to have some, if you don't like wrestling that much, but you like music, this is going to be the show to listen to. It's going to be Halloween music that you never hear anywhere else. I've been digging and digging and digging for the past few months to really kind of have, it's going to be a good show. It's going to be unique.
Speaking of good shows, DC, you have a podcast. Why don't you tell us about it?
I do have a podcast. It's called Stay for Dinner. It is about home cooking, and for anyone that loves cooking or hates cooking or has no idea how they feel about cooking, it is the show for you. I talk to a lot of great guests about where cooking does or doesn't fit into their lives, food memories, everything that food and cooking are related to, which is everything. So check it out if that is at all appealing to you. It is on Spotify and Stitcher and all of the places that podcasts are. Stay for Dinner. Check it out.
This is the year to do a cooking
great.
at home podcast.
Oh God,
I had banked a few episodes when the pandemic hit, and then I was initially like, "Oh, this is great, everybody's cooking," and then I was like, "Wait, are people cooking too much? Do they hate it now? They don't want to listen to? They have to do it, so they don't want to listen to a podcast about it." But I think we found a nice sweet spot, and it's a really fun thing. I mean, food is such a joyful and relaxing thing a lot of the time. So I think that's really where we've kind of, landed with it. And I'm really enjoying doing it. And I think you might enjoy checking it out. If it sounds good to you.
Wow, that sounds
great.
great.
I hope we've piqued your interest in the world of professional wrestling just a little bit more.
Absolutely.
What homework do you have? You have to look up the wrestling
Lanny
night.
Poffo, just every I have to know the full, because from what you guys were describing, it sounds like when they came on the scene that Macho Man and Lanny Poffo were like two peas in a pod, and then Macho Man kind of like took off, and Lanny kind of was like, "This is what I'm doing. I'm the guy that shows up, and I'm valiant, and I have poetry, and I paid too much money for this armor, so now I need to hopefully pay it off. I'm paying in installments for this armor." And I have to look up all of his promos. I think it's wonderful. I like somebody that's just like, no, I'm not going to adapt to what I think people want. This is what I'm doing. This is what I like. I really, really appreciate that.
If I can make a recommendation for Lanny Poffo, after his armor is destroyed in the Bunkhouse Battle Royal, he starts wearing a graduation robe, and he starts calling himself the Genius. And there's a match from Saturday Night's Main Event in 1990 with Hulk Hogan versus the Genius, and it is one of my favorite wrestling matches ever. It's so, especially as from a comedy perspective, it's unbelievable. It's great. So I recommend that. The Hulk Hogan
sold.
Derek, we have
Genius.
one more clip. I don't know if we could play it. Remember I sent you that one specific Lanny clip, and we can end the show on that kind of without comment?
I love arena rats. But there was this girl, they called her Skinny Lynn, and she wanted me. And I'll tell you what, I was...
This is his Almost Famous.
An oversensitive boy with a bad complexion. I wasn't really the Clark Gable of my high school.
No, you
and
don't
I loved
say.
wrestling because a lot of loosely moraled girls would go to the wrestling matches and entertain a wrestler, even the fat, bald, blind, crippled, crazy ones, or the ones with tattoos on their face. Everybody got a girl in wrestling. So evidently they didn't mind my little complexion problem. And this girl, Skinny Lynn, she was the loveliest girl I fell in love with her. I was young and stupid. She was hot.
I feel like my Bukowski reference was more apt than I realized.
She was beautiful. And somewhere during the sexual intercourse, I was having some fun with her.
So much worse than anything else you could do.
Time. I did this little party trick I can do. I grabbed my penis and put it in my mouth, and she flipped. Then when I got to the next town, everybody knew my dick size, everybody knew my habitat and my
habitat.
And I remember one of the wrestlers brings me into the locker room, and he says, "Lanny, did you suck your own dick for Skinny Lynn?" And I said, yes. He says, let me see. So I grabbed it and showed him. And he said, that is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Maybe it was, but many years later, that wrestler, who will remain nameless, unless you know that he got a couple years in jail after plea bargaining for something like something he did wrong that was against the law. There's nothing illegal about autofellatio.
All right.
And,
So we can stop that
all right,
there.
let's turn that
Thank
right
you,
down,
C-
okay.
Thank you, DJ. Thank
DC.
DC so much for
Oh gosh.
being on. I'm flustered.
There's nothing illegal about
that whole thing was the
autofellatio.
worst Hold Steady song I've ever heard.
All right, with that, we're Wrestling Club. Darren and Brett, thanks again, DC. Check out the podcast. We'll be back next week. Brawloween's in 8 days. Goodbye-bye.
It's a nightmare.
All right.